On September 18th, 2023, in a small town in Kildane County, North Carolina, a woodsman named Lester Quan reported to the police department the discovery of a strange object deep within the forest at the foot of Greene Mountain. It was an old, nearly rotted school backpack, obscured by fallen leaves and tree roots. What made Lester stop was not the backpack itself, but what lay inside it, a jacket with the name Zadriel embroidered on it, a blurred and soaked notebook, and most notably, a student ID card with faded letters, clearly stating the academic year 2007 to 2008. Zadriel Munro, Harrison Oak High School. That name had haunted the entire town for many years. In the fall of 2007, a school bus numbered 97-1 departed from the Harrison Oak area, carrying 13 11th grade students and one driver, heading north to attend a 3-day field study program at the Ecological Research Station on Greene Mountain. But they never arrived. The bus was never found. All 14 people went missing, without a trace. Families, police, even the FBI got involved. But the final conclusion remained unchanged: the largest group disappearance in the history of North Carolina, with no significant clues ever discovered. And now, after 16 years, a single backpack had suddenly surfaced. The strangeness did not end there. Just 2 days later, on the evening of September 20th, the Kildane Town Hospital received an emergency case with no known identity. A man in his early 30s, discovered by a delivery truck on the roadside of Highway 39 less than 12 miles from where the backpack was found. He was soaking wet, his legs were scratched, and he showed signs of prolonged exhaustion. What stood out? He could not speak, not because of a throat injury, but as if he had completely lost the ability to vocalize due to trauma. After 3 days of searching and cross-checking DNA records, the official result was announced. The young man was indeed Zadriel Munro, the student who went missing in 2007, now 33 years old. Zadriel's return, silent and mysterious, shook the entire town. His old family, his mother had passed away from cancer in 2019, and his father had left long ago, had only one remaining relative, a cousin named Cleora, who had lived with Zadriel during their elementary school years, and was the only one to come identify him. Zadriel could not speak, nor write anything clearly. Doctors diagnosed him with prolonged psychogenic aphasia, not due to physical injury. He either did not remember or did not want to remember. The only thing he reacted to was when a nurse at the hospital mentioned a name from the list of 13 students from that year, Avenel Brooks. When he heard that name, his whole body stiffened, his eyes widened, his hands trembled. But then he fell silent once again. Zadriel was the first, and to this day, the only person to return from the missing school bus. No one knew where he had been, what he had done, how he had lived, or what had happened on the road to Greene Mountain in 2007. But the most haunting question was not, what did you go through? It was, why were you the only one who came back? Before we begin, subscribe to the channel to follow the trail of forgotten disappearances, because there are names that have never been called again. In the fall of 2007, Harrison Oak High School, a small public school in Kildane County, North Carolina, organized an outdoor field study trip for 11th grade students. The trip was scheduled for 3 days, with the destination being an ecological research station on Greene Mountain, more than 80 miles north of the school, across dense forests and remote mountain passes. The passenger list included 13 students and one driver, Mr. Cauldron Stowe, 58 years old, who had worked with the school for over 15 years. All the students were from Class 11B, a group specializing in environmental biology. They were known for being active, high-achieving, and had participated in various local research activities. Among them, Zadriel Munro, 17 years old, was a name few paid attention to. He lived with his mother and cousin in a rented house near the old Baptist church. His father had disappeared when Zadriel was only 8, leaving no trace. His mother, Leanne Munro, worked part-time as a cleaner for a local bakery and bookstore. Zadriel was a quiet student, rarely joining group activities. He often carried a small notebook, writing in blue ink and sketching strange lines in the margins. Notably, he loved recording sounds, the whir of a fan, footsteps, the sound of rain, even the rustling of turning pages. His classmates called him the living tape recorder. A week before the trip, he had given his mother a notebook, just some random notes. He had said and asked her to keep it safe. After he went missing, she opened it. Beyond scattered fragments of writing, there was only one repeated sentence. Sound does not disappear, it hides, waiting to be found. And in the corner of one page, Avenel needs to know this. Avenel Brooks, Zadriel's classmate, was his complete opposite, energetic, full of inspiration, and well known for the old Konica camera she always carried with her. As the biology team leader that year, Avenel was the one who initiated the field trip plan, divided the tasks, chose the route, and prepared every detail. She lived with her parents, Mr. Ellis Brooks, owner of a used bookstore, and Mrs. Geneva Brooks, a retired literature teacher. Avenel loved scrapbooking, labeling each photo with her neat handwriting, and had once been voted the visual storyteller in the class's mid-year yearbook, in the last known photograph. 13 students, including Zadriel, stood beside the yellow school bus parked in front of the school. Below the photo was Avenel's handwritten caption, "See you up there." The rest of the list included students typical of Harrison Oak. Mick Alviro, linebacker team captain, known for his cheerful personality and willingness to help others in the group. Thaleen Cruz, a Puerto Rican girl who had won a statewide essay competition with the theme "The Silence of the Ecosystem." Destry Lorne lived with his grandfather, often sat at the back of the class, and used pencils to redraw biology diagrams from memory. All were exemplary students. None had disciplinary issues, and there were no signs of group conflict before the trip. The driver, Caldron Stowe, was a former serviceman who had once been stationed at Fort Campbell. Students held him in high regard for his habit of telling old stories during long drives. Before the trip, he had carefully checked the braking system, tire pressure, and even the emergency exit door. According to the maintenance log, the bus met all safety requirements. The departure time was clearly recorded, 6:35 in the morning, Monday, October 8th, 2007. The sky was clear, no rain, and traffic conditions were smooth. The last recorded sighting of the bus was by a traffic camera at intersection 19 at 8:07 in the morning. After that, it vanished from all radar. One small but haunting detail: the cassette tape Zadriel had brought along to play on the bus, a recording titled "Sounds of the Night Forest," which he had compiled himself from various sources. It was never found. The disappearance caused an immediate uproar. Local police, in coordination with the FBI, expanded the search to cover more than 100 square miles. Helicopters, search dogs, and rescue teams were deployed for nearly a month, but no tire marks, no debris, no physical evidence was ever recovered. At one point, there were even rumors suggesting the bus had never left the town, but that theory was disproven when the intersection camera confirmed its presence. The students' families formed a support group, posting pictures of their children along the route, lighting candles, writing open letters, and sending them to every checkpoint. But over time, all efforts gradually faded. 4 families moved away, 2 mothers passed away in sorrow, and the keepsakes became relics few dared to mention. And then, 16 years later, one person returned. Zadriel Munro, now 33 years old, was found in a state of exhaustion, no longer capable of speaking. His identity was confirmed through a DNA match with records from 2007. That shocking return jolted the community awake after a 16-year slumber. Even more puzzling, he did not appear to have aged much since the old photos. The student ID picture from 2007 and his present-day face showed no significant difference, save for a few deeper lines at the corners of his eyes. One doctor whispered, "He looks like someone who lived apart from time." And the question returned, where had he been all these years? And more importantly, why was he the only one to come back? In December of 2007, as snow began to blanket the rooftops of Kildane, the yellow ribbons tied to front doors across town had already started to fade. The stone benches in the Central Park, once lined with 13 photographs of the missing students, now held only 4. The others had been carried off by the wind or washed away by rain. People began referring to the incident as the vanishing bus, more like a legend passed by word of mouth than a documented tragedy. The families of the students split into two states of being, those who let go and those who could not. Mrs. Geneva Brooks, mother of Avenel, belonged to the latter after the disappearance. She refused to leave the wooden house on Courtwood Road. Despite her husband Ellis's desire to sell and move away, she kept her daughter's room exactly as it was, the photo album on the desk, the green pillow, and the Konica camera resting by the window. Every year, on October 8th, she still baked waffles, Avenel's favorite, and placed a plate at the table, across from the empty chair. She once told a local news reporter in 2012, "She's not dead. I don't feel death. She's still out there, somewhere. I know it." That same year, Ellis left town. He lost contact with Geneva in 2015. Some said he could no longer bear living in a house filled with memories, while his wife refused to leave. He moved to the state of Ohio. No one knew more than that. Mick Alviro's family left during the first year after the incident. They sold their auto repair shop and moved away without leaving an address. Mick's mother once wrote an open letter to the local paper. "If my son is gone, please let me know so I can bury him. But if someone still sees him, please, don't let him believe he's been forgotten." Meanwhile, Destry Lorne's grandfather, Elmer Lorne, became something of a local oddity. He was the only one who continued visiting the police station each month, bringing handwritten notes, self-drawn maps, and theories about where his grandson might have been taken. He was once described as the town's keeper of time, for he remembered every road, every turn, and every parent-teacher meeting Destry had ever attended. In one of his notebooks, a line written in red ink read, "No bus disappears if someone remembers the road it traveled." In 2011, after funding ran dry, the parents' support group dissolved. In 2014, the memorial statue erected temporarily in Harrison Oaks schoolyard was dismantled by town council order, citing structural safety concerns. The town returned to its old rhythms, but for those who remained. The emptiness never truly filled. One of them was Cleora Munro, Zadriel's cousin, when he disappeared. She was 20 years old, studying nursing in Durham. Circumstance made her Zadriel's closest living relative after his mother passed away in 2019 from lung cancer. Cleora returned to live in Kildane, taking a job as a community nurse. She lived quietly, never joining memorial groups or family gatherings. Yet for 10 years, she kept a box of Zadriel's belongings, a few tapes, notebooks, and his winter jacket, a jacket she continued to wash every month, as if by unconscious habit. When the news came that Zadriel had been found, Cleora was the first person called to identify him. She recounted the moment she saw her cousin again in the recovery room. "He didn't recognize me, but when I played a recording of Rain, something I'd recovered from one of his old tapes, his eyes welled up. He said nothing, just wept." Zadriel's return in 2023 stirred new waves, but not everyone received it as a miracle. To some, it reopened wounds they had tried to forget. To others, it was proof that something was still unresolved or had never been understood at all. Mrs. Geneva, now in her 70s, returned to the police station for the first time in over a decade. She asked only one question. Did Zadriel have Avenel's camera with him? The answer was no. But in the hospital, Zadriel reacted when he heard Avenel's name, as if her name was the only thing that remained in the shattered landscape of his memory. In a small town like Kildane, everyone knows everyone. The event of 2007 became a marker that split time in two, before the bus and after. Those who remained went on living, but none truly returned to who they once were. Some grew up in silence, others refused to move forward, and some searched for meaning in religion or work. Yet somewhere, behind each morning's school bus horn, something was still left behind. And then, Zadriel came back, a silent figure trailing questions no one had ever answered. And once again, the town had to face the question no one wanted to ask. If one came back, why wasn't it my child? According to preserved records, bus number 97-1 departed from the parking lot of Harrison Oak High School at 6:35 in the morning, Monday, October 8th, 2007. The driver was Mr. Cauldron Stowe, 58 years old, carrying 13 students from Class 11B. The weather that day was clear and dry, with temperatures around 12 degrees Celsius. The chosen route was Highway A19, cutting through Greene Forest, the only road leading to the Ecological Research Station, where the group was scheduled to attend a 3-day field course. At 6:53, a call was made from the bus's built-in landline. The caller was Avenel Brooks, the group leader. She informed the research station that the group had departed on time and was expected to arrive before 10. That was the last contact ever made from the bus. At 8:07 in the morning, a traffic camera at intersection 19 recorded the final image, the bus turning right onto the forest road leading up Greene Pass. After that, it vanished from all cameras and tracking systems. The Greene Pass route stretched approximately 16 miles, lacked cellular coverage, and had no surveillance infrastructure. 3 days prior, the road had been flagged for minor rockfall risk. A restriction on large vehicles had been issued. However, due to a coordination oversight, the warning email was never sent to the school. One controversial detail: there was supposed to be a supervising teacher on the trip, but Ms. Elva Roach, the designated chaperone, had fallen ill that morning. No replacement was assigned. As a result, the bus departed with only students and the driver. Police confirmed that after the 8:07 timestamp, no camera, civilian, or vehicle ever saw the bus again. By 10:20, when the group failed to arrive at the research station as planned, the school began making calls to check in. An emergency search was launched. Within the first 72 hours, helicopters, search dogs, and rescue teams combed 120 square miles around Greene Mountain, but found no tire tracks, no wreckage, and no trace of evidence in the investigation files. One detail initially dismissed as insignificant later emerged as a noteworthy piece of the puzzle: the audio recording Zadriel had brought on the bus. He had chosen the broadcast for that day, a cassette tape mixing various recordings of forest night sounds, compiled by himself. One student recalled, "It didn't sound like a normal forest. It sounded like the forest was breathing." But the tape was never recovered, neither the original nor any copy. Another overlooked detail: the final photo of the 13 students in front of the bus, taken by Avenel that morning. When enlarged for documentation, a technician noticed a shadowy figure inside the bus, on the seat by the rear exit, where no one was assigned to sit. Initially thought to be a reflection, the shape resembled the shoulder and head of someone facing outward. There was no evidence that anyone outside the group boarded the bus, but the detail raised a troubling question. Had someone, or something, entered the bus unnoticed? During the initial search effort, a report from a professional woodsman named Lester Quan had been set aside, a volunteer with the rescue team. He made a journal entry on October 23rd. 2007, side turnoff at kilometer marker 9, deep tire marks in soft earth, possibly a large vehicle, nearby, a cracked cassette tape, black casing. However, the location fell outside the designated search priority zone, and the team did not investigate further. The tape was left behind due to unknown origin. Years later, when Zadriel reappeared in 2023, it was Lester who discovered the old backpack in the forest, just 12 miles from the kilometer 9 area. Another long-forgotten clue resurfaced when Zadriel's return gained media attention in local press. Marlon Jex, a delivery truck driver who had traveled through Greene Pass that same morning, had originally told police, "I didn't see anything unusual." But upon learning that Zadriel had survived, he contacted authorities again to share a previously withheld detail. "I still remember, just before 8:30 that morning, I saw a yellow school bus parked at the edge of the forest, maybe 100 meters off the main road. The bus was still, headlights off. I figured they were checking tires or taking a break. I thought of stopping, but that stretch of road was steep, and I had to drive nearly half a mile before I could turn around. I came back shortly after, probably not even 10 minutes, but it was gone. No bus, no tire tracks. The ground was dry, as if nothing had ever been there." Marlon admitted, "I was tired at the time. I thought maybe I was mistaken, or imagined it. But thinking back now, I'm sure of what I saw." Police confirmed the location Marlon described matched the side turnoff at kilometer 9, where Lester had reported tire marks and the cracked cassette. There was no concrete proof the bus had turned there, but there was also no data disproving it. The question arose, if the bus had turned off course, why? And what caused the total silence that lasted 16 years? Zadriel, the sole survivor, could not speak and had written nothing meaningful. But according to psychologists, when shown a map of the kilometer 9 area, his heart rate elevated slightly. When shown the photo of the shadow on the bus, he turned his face away, his eyes twitching, his hands clenching. That was the only time he reacted so strongly to any material. No one knows for certain what happened after 8:07 that morning. All that's known is this: there was a turn not on the map, and from that turn, an entire group never came back. Immediately after it was confirmed that the school bus had failed to arrive at the ecological research station, a large-scale search was launched. It was the morning of Monday, October 8th, 2007, and by that afternoon, the first search teams began combing the road segment from intersection 19 up Greene Pass. By the 7th day, over 150 people were involved, including county police, volunteer rescue units, wildfire response crews, and even support from the local National Guard. Total area surveyed, over 120 square miles. Duration of official search, 41 consecutive days. Result: no wreckage, no tire marks, no identifiable evidence linked to the school bus. What shocked many was not the failure to find anything, but the complete absence of any clear starting point. No cell signal, no cries for help, no radio transmission from the bus, despite the driver having access to an emergency system. In the Department of Transportation's investigative report dated November 4th, 2007, a single line sparked controversy. The radio system on bus 97-1 was not thoroughly inspected before departure. It is possible the device was malfunctioning but went unnoticed, due to its infrequent use when students are on board. This detail raised a difficult question. If an emergency occurred, was there truly no way to send word? Another irregularity: the absence of a supervising teacher. This was an administrative violation. Harrison Oak High School never allowed field trips without a faculty member. But that morning, Ms. Elva Roach, the biology teacher, fell seriously ill. She phoned in at 5:45 a.m. to report her absence. The front desk staff recorded it but made no change to the trip plans, believing driver Cauldron was experienced and the route familiar. The school did not notify the research station about the missing chaperone. The result: no one held administrative responsibility on the bus that day. In a copy of the internal investigation log, a nearly forgotten detail resurfaced: a wrinkled tourist map found at the first suspected rest point at the base of the pass, where it was believed the bus may have briefly stopped. A red pen mark appeared at kilometer 9, the exact location later referenced by both Lester Kwan and Marlon Jex. Upon close examination, analysts found a faint handwritten note in the map's margin: cut through, 15 minutes shorter, only if road is dry. No one could confirm who had marked the map, but if someone on the bus had brought it, then perhaps the driver or a student decided to take the side route instead of the official path. A decision never recorded in any report. Another piece once dismissed as irrelevant but later hotly debated: the timing of the bus's right turn at intersection 19. Video footage showed the bus did not use its turn signal. Not legally required, but for Cauldron Stowe, known for his caution, failing to signal when entering a mountain road was uncharacteristic. Behavioral experts noted, either he was distracted or someone else was driving the bus at that moment. The suggestion was contested, as no evidence supported a change of driver, but the implication lingered from 8:07 onward. No one could say for sure what truly happened on board. After 2 weeks with no results, the investigation broadened to consider the possibility of abduction. Some speculated the bus had been diverted or seized by someone familiar with the terrain, but the theory was soon dismissed. There were no ransom demands, no signs of force, and no breach of transportation infrastructure. Police reviewed footage from 3 gas stations near the intersection area. One clip showed a yellow bus at 8:49, but upon analysis, experts confirmed it was bus 88-2 from a different school, same color, different license plate. One discovery came far too late: the student ID card found in the backpack in 2023. It belonged to Zadriel Munro for the academic year 2007 to 2008, on the back, in faint handwriting. Only part of a sentence remained legible. If someone finds this, don't go back the same way. Go toward the water. Analysts could not determine when the note was written, but it suggested Zadriel may have once had the chance to write or leave a trace, a detail absent from all official search reports, in the search team logs. 3 zones were never fully explored due to weather and hazardous terrain. All 3 lay near the side route at kilometer 9, when the case was closed in November 2007. Police concluded likelihood of evidence in those zones is low, but after Zadriel's return, those areas were added to a new list of priority sites. In October 2023, an independent investigation team led by terrain specialist Oliver Kent returned to the site. They found signs of erosion caused by landslides, including a buried section of an old road leading down to a creek, now almost entirely covered by roots and sediment. There, they recovered a small broken mirror, the convex type once mounted on the front of school buses. It was rusted and cracked, buried beneath tree roots. Forensic testing could not determine when it had broken, but the design matched models from bus 97-1 manufactured before 1995. The facts began to surface, yet the story still felt fragmented, missing its final link. Perhaps the bus did turn onto the cut-through. Perhaps they went too far and could not return. Perhaps someone chose to change the route, but no one was able to stop them. One question remains. If all of them disappeared, why did only one return? And perhaps Zadriel, though unable to speak, carries within him the missing pieces no one has yet had the patience to hear. When reviewing the full case files, testimonies, and scattered pieces of evidence uncovered over 16 years, there may not be an absolute truth, but there exists one theory compelling enough to connect the fragments from the fateful turn to the disappearance, and finally, to the solitary return. It all begins with a decision that may have taken place at kilometer marker 9, a side road not included in the official route. The wrinkled map, bearing the note 15 minutes shorter only if road is dry. Has no confirmed owner, but if it had been brought along by a student, say, Avenel, then it's possible the group had once considered a shortcut, even as a mere suggestion. It planted the possibility that driver Cauldron Stowe took the unsupervised turnoff. That turn led into a sloped, narrow area with no signal. If it had rained days before, as weather records show, the ground might have been saturated. Once the bus entered, the risk of sliding or sinking would have been very real. But suppose Zadriel was not on the bus when the incident occurred. Everything found, his backpack's location, the student ID, and his condition at the time of discovery suggests that he had separated from the group before the accident. Why? No one can say for sure. But in the notebook his mother once kept, there was a line, "Avenel needs to know this," and one repeated phrase, "Sound never disappears." Some behavioral experts have hypothesized Zadriel may have recorded something in the woods, sounds, signals, or a voice, and tried to warn the others. But no one believed him. Perhaps he panicked. Perhaps he warned them and was dismissed. And then he chose to walk away. Taking his backpack, his student ID, and a few essential items, Zadriel walked away from the group, maybe to find a signal, or simply to escape the stifling air within the group dynamic. He didn't know that behind him, the bus had vanished. It may have slid, been buried in a landslide, or become trapped on a stretch of pass with no way back, no distress call, no time for anyone to come looking for him. The first piece of evidence, the backpack, was found in 2023 by none other than Lester Kwan, the woodsman who had joined the original 2007 search. It lay 12 miles from kilometer 9, moving away from the summit, suggesting that Zadriel had wandered far from the group, unaware of what had happened. Inside, his student ID bore a faint inscription. "If someone finds this, don't go back the same way. Go toward the water." That was the path he chose. Zadriel didn't return immediately, not because he was trapped, but because there was no path left to return. He became lost, disoriented. He may have fallen into the care of off-grid mountain dwellers. There are people in the North Carolina mountains who live without electricity, internet, or formal records. Perhaps they sheltered him, or simply gave him a place to stay. Asking no questions. One psychologist remarked, In some cases of extreme trauma, the victim does not forget, but chooses to lock away their memory as a form of psychological shielding. Zadriel may have chosen not to remember, rather than being unable to. When he was found in 2023, he carried no further evidence, no cassette, no documents. But when experts compared the handwriting from the notebook his mother had kept with symbols he later scrawled with his left hand at the rehabilitation center, the match was clear. This confirmed. He remembered, but was not ready to speak. In March 2024, the Kildane Police Department released its official conclusion. Based on the investigation and geological analysis, we propose a reasonable hypothesis that school bus number 97-1 turned onto the side road at kilometer 9, suffered an accident due to a landslide, and was buried with all students on board. The sole survivor, Zadriel Munro, was not present at the time of the incident, having separated from the group beforehand. The town of Kildane did not hold a press conference, but a small memorial was held at the community library, the former grounds of Harrison Oak School. Most of the students' families had moved away. Only a few relatives attended. Cleora Monroe was present. Mrs. Geneva Brooks, Avenel's mother, sat in the third row. She said nothing, only placed a photo of her daughter on the memorial table. No cassette tapes were played, no strange recordings. Only the sound of wind passing through old windows, and a few lines handwritten by the students of that year, recovered from an old yearbook. Among them, a line from Avenel: "The forest is a place of keeping, not of hiding." Zadriel did not attend the ceremony. He remained at a rehabilitation center in Durham. No one forced him to speak. No one demanded he retell the story. But one nurse noticed a recurring gesture. Every morning, he would open the window, look toward the distant trees, and whisper something no one could quite make out. In the drawer beside his bed, there was a sheet of paper, written in faint blue ink with his left hand. "I tried to tell them." This story ends not with an explosion, not with a farewell, but with a whisper that had been ignored from the very start. This disappearance was not a supernatural mystery. There was no perpetrator, no sensational drama, only a chain of errors, miscommunications, and silence. Small things, but together, enough to send an entire bus on a path from which it would never return. If you found this story meaningful, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, because there are still many disappearances that have never been told.